Hey guys, it's Fred. I'm here to talk to you guys about Dark Phoenix, which I think is a pretty underrated movie. Um, I'm a pretty big X-Men fan, and it's actually one of the few franchises where I have some familiarity with the source material, and I could watch any of the X-Men movies just over and over again. I've seen them all like probably like a dozen times each, and I know that a lot of them, they aren't really good. A bunch of them are straight up horrible. Last Stand, X-Men Origins. There's a case to be made that any of them are actually pretty bad. Even the original X-Men movie, which was groundbreaking, kind of mind-blowing at the time, just not very good. There's a lot of videos that cover, what exactly went wrong with the franchise, how it handled the continuity, how it handled characters, how it handled different kinds of arcs. And I think there are a lot of better videos about that. So take a look at some of those if you want to kind of understand the fall of this franchise and why it's so good that it's going to the hands of Disney. I'm really looking forward to that. Dark Phoenix is not the last movie in the franchise. There's still one more movie coming out, New Mutants, which has been delayed so many times. I've been looking forward to that movie ever since its trailer came out. The trailer's just super interesting, makes it look like a very different kind of superhero movie. The source material, New Mutants comic, is absolutely fantastic. It's some of it, especially the Ghost Bear, the Spirit Bear, that's just some top tier X-Men material and art, and lots of great performers in there. So it's really sad that it's been postponed a lot, but Dark Phoenix is not the last. New Mutants will be the last. I'm looking forward to that one as well. Dark Phoenix is a very fascinating movie because it is an adaptation of the Dark Phoenix run of the X-Men comics, which is a much beloved, very popular run, if not the most popular run of the X-Men comics. It's not my favorite run. I think actually the best line of X-Men comic books and the best continuity actually starts after the movies started being made. Dark Phoenix is fascinating partly because it's already been adapted within the same franchise and the same quasi-same like continuity. Like X-Men 3 The Last Stand also makes kind of a half attempt to adapt this Dark Phoenix storyline, and one of its big mistakes, it has a lot of mistakes, it's one of the worst superhero movies ever made, but one of its biggest mistakes about adapting it is in that movie the Dark Phoenix plot is like a B plot. There's like an X-Men mutant cure plot that's actually the center of the story, and then Phoenix shows up once in a while and like looks really badass, and you don't get a lot of like character moments with her. And then another reason it's fascinating to adapt this storyline a second time within the same continuity without a full-on reboot is because that story is one of the ending of that where Wolverine kills Jean Grey is one of the only moments of continuity throughout the whole franchise that affects Wolverine to his very last days in Logan. So it's really weird that now we're like back here, and we're back here without Wolverine. And even weirder, this movie is written by the very same person who wrote X-Men Last Stand, Simon Kinberg, who's been responsible actually as a producer of the franchise throughout its entire run, and has written plenty of the movies, X-Men Last Stand, but also Days of Future Past, which is one of the most popular of the X-Men movies. So it's sort of weird to have this guy go back and revisit a movie he already wrote, a story he already wrote, and maybe try to make it better. It's like an opportunity to fix a mistake, I guess, for Simon, and I think he does okay, and I think, I do think it's a good thing that the franchise is being taken out of his hands. If there's any one person responsible for the mishandling of the X-Men movie franchise, it is Simon Kinberg. Nonetheless, this last movie is pretty fine. If you like X-Men movies, you will like the Dark Phoenix movie. It has everything you look for in the X-Men movies, except for maybe like Hugh Jackman's abs. Good special effects. Some of the best makeup the franchise has ever had. It has very inconsistent makeup, especially with the characters that are blue. You know, they've always been kind of awkward to look at. I think they did a good job with them here. And of course, the cast kills it. The cast always kills it in X-Men movies. X-Men has, whoever does the casting for X-Men has always done a very good job. And so we got, you know, Sophie Turner here and Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy and Jennifer Lawrence, and yeah, they're all fine in this movie. The scripts they've been handed, the dialogue itself is definitely kind of shitty. I do think this movie has been given unfair treatment in the press, its reviews. Of course, it's not Endgame, it's not a Marvel tier quality movie, but it's definitely an X-Men. It's what you can expect from the X-Men movies. One of the funnier things that bothered me that I didn't like was there's this kind of like old-timey thing where Professor X has like a direct line to the president in the movie, which felt like a 60s Batman thing, like the red phone. He literally has an X phone that he uses to call the President of the United States, which is really funny, especially in the context of today. And I always think of this when you see presidents in movies now. It's like, what if that guy was Donald Trump? Like, how fucked would we be? And in this movie, probably somewhat less fucked than in other movies, because the president fucks him over anyway. So yeah, I think Dark Phoenix was okay. I actually kind of liked that it's kind of an inverse arc for Professor X. Professor X is kind of like a quasi-villain antagonist figure in the movie because of the way he behaves and because of how his choices escalate the plot. And I think that's a really neat concept that isn't necessarily implemented in the best way possible, but I still think it's kind of clever. It could have done with even entirely without Jessica Chastain's character, who's more obscure in the comics, and I think a lot of people thought she was probably a different character from the comic books. She didn't really fit in the movie. My favorite X-Men character, Nightcrawler, gets a lot more screen time. I didn't really like his characterization. In the comic books, he's sort of the charming, emotional center of the X-Men. He's sort of their heart, you know? And in this movie, he's like a jobber. He just kind of does stuff for people at different moments in the movie. But at least he's around. That character, I think, is one of the most popular characters in the franchise and hasn't really made a lot of appearances in the movies. Perhaps because it's maybe a difficult character to pull off in a live-action film. If you like X-Men movies, you'll like Dark Phoenix. I think it's an underrated movie right now. Certainly, of course, not a Marvel tier comic book movie, but just as good as any other X-Men movie. So if you like the X-Men, you like the X-Men movies, definitely check out Dark Phoenix. Don't let it get away from you.